We know that AI helps us work faster and more efficiently, but what if it could also help us live longer, healthier lives? We want to introduce you to Interconnected, a fascinating new podcast about the tech behind the tech. This week, they dive into the revolution that AI is bringing to medicine. In episode 2, world-renowned cardiologist Dr. Eric Topol and decentralized pioneer Jim Nasser explain how AI is enhancing disease prevention, supercharging personalized care, and giving patients control of their data. Listen to Interconnected today, wherever you get your podcasts. Today's show is brought to you by TestCube. Testing applications in Kubernetes doesn't have to be complicated. TestCube is your go-to platform for cloud-native continuous testing. With TestCube, you can orchestrate, scale, and automate tests effortlessly right within Kubernetes, catching issues early and deploying with confidence. Try it out today and see why engineering teams trust TestCube to keep their testing simple and scalable. Your test, your tools, your infrastructure, finally together. Check it out at testcube.io/cloudcast.
Cloudcast Media presents from the massive studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is the Cloudcast with Aaron Delp and Brian Gracely, bringing you the best of cloud computing from around the world.
And we're back, and this week we have, the subject of AI agents specifically for unstructured data in the enterprise. And for that, we have Stephan Donze, founder and CEO at AO Docs. First of all, Stephan, welcome to the show, and give everyone a quick introduction, please.
Thanks for having me, and hi everybody. So I'm Stephan Donze. I'm the founder of AO Docs. We're a document management platform, which in the cloud, which means we help companies organize and protect their most critical documents. We help ensure that people use the right documents. We avoid human errors that can cost millions of dollars to companies. And at the same time, we help them accelerate their business processes. So, for example, we work with Google to build their data centers. Whenever they start the construction of a new data center project, they click a button and they get from AO Docs the package of 20,000 reference documents with the guarantee that these documents are correct, have been validated, are ready to share with the contractors to start the construction. So we help them build their data centers faster, avoid human errors, and be more efficient. And we do this for many other enterprise customers, from Veolia to Air Liquide to Fortune 500 companies.
Fantastic. And let's kind of dig into that high level concept and a little bit of a kind of the problem statement, if you will, right? So we hear all the time about, unstructured data, this continual growth in the enterprise, and it just kind of spirals out of control. And, I've heard lots of different numbers thrown around, but I mean, they're typically always 80% and above of corporate data tends to be unstructured, meaning loose files kind of all over the place, maybe on SharePoint,
Yep.
maybe on just, shared network drives, right? And I've both worked at several companies and supported a significant number of enterprise customers over the years. And I can tell you, I can count on one hand how many say they have control. And I'm kind of using that word control very loosely, of their data. And so, give us your thoughts on this. How did this come to be? And is the problem as big as I think it is?
Well, first, so I've been in that industry for 25 years. I started in enterprise search. Now I'm doing document management. But this figure of 80% unstructured has been pretty constant over the years. I think it was true even before the invention of computers, right? It's just a fact of life. Most of the data we produce or we collect are documents, unstructured things you write, but think about product reviews or technical documentation or emails or all of this. I mean, we produce more and more data. So yeah, I believe that this number is correct, maybe north of 80%. Is it a problem? Is it curable? Well, it's a fact of life. You have to live with it. So what you can do is organize it. A small percentage of that is really critical. A small percentage of that is correct. And part of our job at AO Docs is to protect, to isolate, to identify, and to protect this point-something percent of the big mass that is really business critical to our customers. And AI is a big game changer in that because it helps. Before AI, the only way to identify to make sense of this unstructured information was to have a human look at it. So you're structurally limited to what you can do by the time you can manually spend on it. But now with AI, you can automate part of it. You can automate classification. You can automate extract information. What's the signature date of this contract, right? Before AI, it was impossible to answer that question without a human person. Now you can automate this. So we have a new tool to manipulate this information. I think it's as big a revolution as big data was for numbers and structured information 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. And I think that's such a key point because, I mean, here's the thing. I think it took agentic AI to really, the actionable part of AI to really be able to bring this forward, right? Because, I mean, generative AI, of course, brought all of this onto the scene. And generative AI at its core is like, hey, I can take a whole bunch of documents and kind of summarize them. And, it was really good, the generative portion of all of this, right? But and this portion of it, I think, is much bigger of like, okay, how is this data going to be used in really finding these needles in the haystack, if you will? Like, it just becomes really, really hard. And I think this is where agentic AI really helps address this challenge, this whole idea of actionable AI. And how does that compare, though, to, a traditional document management system? Because document management systems have been around for a long time. And so, and agentic AI is relatively new. So tell everyone a little bit about pros and cons.
I think the two should not be opposed. They are very much complementary. Document management, in the end, is really about identifying the important information and applying rules to it. Before AI, the only way you could do it was manually have a person look at this document, tag it, and do something with it. And the big issue is that this task is not fun. It's repetitive, it's boring, it's really a chore. And the worst part of it is most of the time the person doing that chore is not the one who will benefit from it. Because when you put something in the document management in the right place with the right approvals and so on, it's to avoid a mistake that will happen 5 years or 10 years down the line. You're not working for yourself. You're working for a future someone you don't know. So usually you don't care much about doing it. You do it only if you're forced by regulation or by company policies to do it. Nobody likes to do it. Agentic AI changes everything because those repetitive tasks, at least there's an 80-20% everywhere, right? So 80% of those boring repetitive tasks can be done very well with an AI agent, freeing the time for the workers to focus on more important things. I give you one very interesting example. In a typical insurance company, you're working on cases like, let's say you have a claim about an accident, blah blah blah. You need to review if there are all of the supporting documents and so on. People who work like this can maybe process 2, 3, 4 cases per day. It's a lot of documents, a lot of things to do. You put AI in there, you accelerate the boring part. You keep the agent, of course, the human person, to make the decision. Should I accept this claim? Should I reject it? But it's like you have an army of interns who are preparing the work for you and allowing you to do maybe 5, 6, 10 claims per day instead of 2 or 3. It's a huge productivity improvement. It's a huge life improvement for the agent who can focus most of their day on interesting tasks as opposed to boring part. So everybody wins. So that's why they are complementary. The business of document management doesn't change. Our mission is to ensure that if you find this document in this place, I guarantee you it's the right one. But the way you get there, instead of being 100% manual work, becomes 20% manual, 80% automatic. So it's a huge enabler to apply document management to a much bigger set of documents than before. And on the other hand, too, sorry, ahead, I wanted to talk about another very important problem. AI brings natural language interaction with your unstructured data. Great. I ask a question. And maybe that was your next question, actually.
It was actually. I was going exactly.
Okay,
let's
talk about search.
Please, go ahead.
Let's talk about search. Before AI,
go ahead.
Let's say I have a customer named Wayland, and I want to invoice them. I need to know if I should invoice them, if the invoice should be paid in 30 days, 45 days, 60 days before I send them. So what is written in the contract? So before AI, I would go in File Explorer, Google Drive, Dropbox, wherever, and I search Wayland contract, enter, and I find 5 results. A PDF, that is the signed contract, and 3 Word different drafts of the contract before we were negotiating whatever. Of course, I'm like, whoa, there's 5 different versions. Which one is the right one? I look carefully. I pick the signed version. I look there. I find my answer, 45 days. Good. Now, with AI, you go to Copilot, you go to Gemini, you go whatever, and you ask, hey, what's the payment term with Wayland? And the chatbot will reply, 30 days. I found a document that says 30 days. Was it the right one? I don't know. How many different contracts have you found? 5. But you think the chatbot will tell you there's a risk. I found 5 versions of the contract. Maybe you should pick the right one. No, it will jump directly to the answer. So AI is an accelerator. It gives me the answer without me having to read the PDF, but it's also an accelerator of mistakes if you have different versions, contradicting versions of the same document. So that's where, again, document management comes into play. If you know that there's a sanctified folder or document repository in your company where you are sure that whatever is in there is the right version, you can tell the chatbot, go look here. Don't look in all of SharePoint, right? But if you don't have that, the chatbot will find whatever document that looks vaguely relevant and will not have this reflex that you have as a human to be careful and select. So AI without document management on the search side is a big risk as well. But when you combine the two, you have the winning combination.
I like that. And I'm going to kind of ask maybe a follow-up to that as well, because I really would like digging into this concept of data quality, because, you know, AI will always give you an answer, but maybe it's a twofold question. You know, let's say agentic AI is going through and it's doing some tagging and classification, and to your point of like it's saving folks meaningful time in their day. But is there, you know, is it a kind of a best practice to then kind of do a certain amount of auditing, if you will, to make sure the agentic AI, like, you know, to use the term humans in the loop, right? To make sure what it's tagging is what you want it to be tagging. So that's maybe first part of the question. And second part of the question is, what prevents it from just hallucinating an answer as well? And knowing that there's some kind of ambiguity, but it's talking confidently.
Yes. Well, for both questions, the main issue is the natural confidence of the AI, meaning that they will answer. A human will tell you, this is the answer, or this is the answer, but I'm not sure. This nuance don't exist with AI. It will give you whatever answer they have with a note of confidence. So you have to force in the tagging side. This is a part where our R&D engineers are investing a lot of effort. How do we make the AI provide a confidence score along with the tagging? And it's much harder than we expected, because our initial test, the AI was always responding, yeah, of course I'm sure. So we have to use different techniques, extract the information multiple times with different models, or I won't get into the details, but it's a challenge. It's really an engineering, prompt engineering, data plumbing, etc. challenge to get a confidence score with the tagging. But that's fundamental, because without this, you cannot decide when to involve a human to review the answer, or when you don't. If you have an extraction with AI without a confidence score, a reliable confidence score, you cannot do the human in the loop thing. So that's a problem. On the other side, the hallucination itself is not so much a problem. The models are getting much better, and if you really force them through the prompt to generate the answer only from the data that has been provided to them, it's quite reliable. I mean, we don't have, I don't think I have a single example where we had a problem with hallucination. The real problem is the quality of the data you supply to them. Again, my example of making them answer based on a draft contract that has never been signed versus the real version. So that's, if you don't have the tagging of your information, at least to identify the golden copy of the files that says, okay, these documents are up to date, validated, and so on, are good to feed the AI, and these ones are, we don't know, but you should not really look at that, then you have a problem. But think about it, it's the same with an intern. Imagine you send an intern that was just hired yesterday. He knows nothing about your company, and you tell them, hey, go look in SharePoint and find me how much this client paid us last year. You will find different spreadsheets, different bullshit, different invoices. How do they make the difference between the good ones and the wrong ones? If you tell them, look in this document repository, which is the official CLM of the company or the official invoice register, okay, it's different. So chatbot is the same. You have to point them to the trustable source of information, and you have to prompt them to only use the provided information. And then there's the last piece. Sorry for the long length of the answer, but that's very interesting, very important, is you can have the chatbot check themselves. So we use chain of thought. I don't know if you're familiar with that concept, where the reasoning models, right, where the chatbots go step by step. I'm still saying chatbots instead of agent. I know it's old school, but pardon me for that. Yep. So we use chain of thought.
3 months ago.
So
everything changes.
So 2024, so much, right? So we use chain of thought so that the chatbot check themselves. Here's the question. Here's the information supplied. Here's the answer you provided. Can you check whether it's relevant? And sometimes the chatbot says, you know what? There's an ambiguity. Let's try again. And you do another loop, and another loop, and another loop. And what's really interesting from a user experience point of view is, even if the answer is slower, the fact that you see the chatbot say, thinking, oh, I'm trying this, I'm trying that, I'm trying this, the user doesn't have the impression. They wait 30 seconds to get the answer, but it doesn't feel like 30 seconds because they see the chatbot thinking, and I prefer to wait a little longer, as long as I know it's not stuck, and have a good answer than have something too fast that's partial. So the chain of thought helps a lot with hallucination and reducing the risk of ambiguities.
Yeah. Now, so you bring up a few really interesting points there. I really like the idea of a confidence score, because it almost reminds me of take a consumer just ordering something on Amazon.com, right? Like, they're always going to look at the Amazon reviews, right? And if it's below a certain threshold, and it's up to the user, if it's below a certain threshold, they're like, nope, I don't trust this product, right? And it's so having that is certainly something that's fascinating to me. Now, let me ask you maybe another question that kind of peels back another layer of the onion here. When it comes to these models, are you using like off-the-shelf models and then like fine-tuning them or doing your own specialization, or are you actually resorting to like custom
models? No, we're using off-the-shelf models. The models now are very good. You use GPT-4o, 4.1, 5 even better. Gemini 2.5 is really good as well. And you have the different options. You have the cheap flash models, mini models, or the real ones, depending on your amount of data. So there's a lot of choice for the customers. We let customers plug their own models. So if they have fine-tuned on their own data, good for them. But in my experience, with the off-the-shelf model and a good prompt, you get already very good results. It's extremely rare that you have to resort to fine-tune in our use case, right? I'm not talking about all use cases in general, but in document tagging, summarization, classification, off-the-shelf models are very good already.
And do you ever encounter concerns with security? I would imagine, especially, enterprise security organizations, when you're talking to like, hey, I need the data to be secure, but I also need it to be tagged. And then you're talking about AI just having access to all the data. I'm sure that comes up on a regular basis. And what are the time. The things you need to address and
it's
think
all the time. I think the fundamental thing, first and foremost, you have to let the customers plug their own API key or access key and so on, because we deal mostly with large enterprise. So what I'm saying is maybe not true for SMBs, but for large enterprise, They have their own OpenAI contract with specific provisions on data retention and whatever, or they are going OpenAI through Azure with their own contract with Microsoft, or they have their own contract with Google for Gemini. So you have to let them use the model that they have plugged. I give you an example. We are working with a big airplane manufacturer. They have their own GCP region that has been, hardened with their own security team. Of course, the Gemini is available in this particular GCP landing zone. Okay, we plug to that. So you have to let the customers plug to the model they have chosen and validated. Sometimes it's Google, sometimes it's OpenAI, sometimes it's Llama running on their own Kubernetes cluster. Fine, we support all of this. And when you're using open source model running on the customer's own virtual machines, well, it's pretty reassuring in terms of privacy and data governance.
Yes. And Stephan, let me ask you this, because I mean, here's what I really like about this conversation today is, agentic AI is the new hot thing, of course, but we've also been struggling, I think, with, I'll use the term enterprise use cases for agentic AI. And what I mean by that is, like, you go look at, like, I don't know, Google Gemini, or like at any one of the big shows, and they're like, oh, we're going to show off our agentic AI. And it's like somebody making restaurant reservations, yes, or buying plane tickets. And I feel like a lot of the demos just have never gotten to like something that is enterprise friendly, where the enterprise can go, oh, I see myself where agentic AI is actually something that's useful to me. And so tell everyone a little bit about, okay, because what we talked about could be extremely broad, when it's at steady state, but how do customers get started? Like, what is the crawl, walk, run approach to agentic AI?
I think it's agentic. You ask 5 different people, you will get 5 different definitions. So it's very much a buzzword.
Yes.
To me, the difference between agent and let's say the old school generative AI is simply the concept of action. An agent is something that can take an action based on the result of AI. It doesn't need to be very complex, but taking an action. The main use case we have, and we are implementing it for the enterprise, is automating a review of a document or assigning something to someone. So you have, let's say, I go back to my example of the insurance company, but it applies to many other industries as well. You have the documents coming in. Is it a legal request? Is it a complaint? Is it, to whom should I send it? This simple act of looking at a document, summarizing it, extracting key information and saying, oh, this is about property and casualty, it goes to this team, or it is about life insurance, it goes to that team. I have another example. One of my clients is, most of their business comes through RFPs. And sometimes an RFP comes in, like by email or by whatever, and they have very short deadline. And in their current process without AI, by the time somebody looks at it, assign it to the right person and send it to the right person, the deadline is passed. They missed an opportunity. With AI, immediately, as soon as the PDF is in your inbox, it is analyzed and it's sent to the electrical team or the HVAC team or the whatever team, right? Assigning documents based on analyzing it. It's so simple, but that's a real enterprise agent application use case that can be done. Another thing we are doing for a state government at the moment, they have different documents, the communication they send to their citizen. It has to adhere to strict rules. The font has to be big enough to be legible. You need the logo in a certain place. You need, they have like 15 different rules to check on every document. You give that to an agent, and the agent say, hey, rule number 3 doesn't match, rule number 5 doesn't match, the document is rejected. You can save hours and hours of, again, boring and repetitive tasks for people. So that's the kind of agents we're saying, not something super fancy, to revolutionize the world, just little pieces of AI that make small decisions based on a set of rules that the AI can understand and based on documents that the AI can read. And it saves a ton of times and a ton of productivity to the company. So hopefully that helps. But we're very excited about it, and it's not buzz. It's just practical things.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you very much for Stephan. And actually, I think that's a great place for us to stop for today. Final question. If anyone out there is interested, what's the best way to get started, Stephan?
So come on eodocs.com. We have a lot of good videos that you can see to have an idea of what we do. Of course, you can contact us through the website. And very soon you will have also an experience to try the product online. So all of this is good, but don't hesitate to talk to us. I mean, we love to show what we do, and then we have lots of new exciting things every week.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time today. And on behalf of Brian, who wasn't able to make it this week, and myself, everyone out there, thank you very much for listening. If you enjoy the show, please leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. If you are able, please tell a friend. And of course, we're always interested in your feedback as well. All of our social media is in the show notes, but show@thecloudcast.net, or reach out to me directly, aaron@thecloudcast.net. That's it for this week, everyone. Thank you very much for listening, and we will talk to everyone next week.
Thank you for listening to The Cloudcast. Please visit thecloudcast.net to find more shows, show notes, videos, and everything social media.